Hello and welcome to another edition of Sports Talk Philadelphia here on LaSalle TV. I'm your host, Josh Abrams. The Phillies are off to an amazing start to the 2019 season, but the Sixers still are proving to us that they can't win without Joel Embiid. We're going to talk about that and much more after this intro.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Hello and welcome to Sports Talk Philadelphia. As usual, I have a great panel on hand today to discuss some Philly sports. Gia Lancey, Tyler Small, and Sam Brown join us today. Before we get into Phillies talk, we're going to get into the headlines. We are going to talk about the Flyers first. They are now finally eliminated from playoff contention. We had been talking about it basically every show where it was kind of for the better. And Tyler, I know you were a big advocate for that. So now that it's official, just any thoughts?
Just the same as last week, I would say. I mean, disappointing end to the year. Had some highs, had some lows, and once again, it was just very inconsistent, as the Flyers usually do. So nothing on my end, I should say.
And, you know, maybe it's finally a wake-up call with the new GM in office now. Maybe he'll finally make some moves and actually look for some talent instead of just bringing back players past their prime, and hopefully – and just hope that would result in the playoff run. But no, now it's really time to put the pen to the paper and get some fresh faces in this town.
Gia, do you have any thoughts on that?
You know, just in general, we have to trust the process. That's really it.
It really has been a process with the Flyers, and it's very difficult for them to make the playoffs when at some point in time during the season they had the worst record in the league. It's just really hard for Chuck Fletcher and Scott Gordon to lead us into the playoffs when we were at the bottom at some point. But that's enough for the Flyers. Let's get into another headline that's been actually kind of big and it's got to be generating some positive vibes around the city. The Eagles finally have a running back that we can actually trust, a three-down back that we can hand the ball to and just trust him to run downhill. Jordan Howard, we were able to get him. And I don't know how he does it. I mean, he's literally a magician. It's the same thing every time. He was able to get Jordan Howard for a 5th-round pick and a 6th-round pick, which could eventually go back to a 5th-round pick. It's just amazing how we got a caliber player like Jordan Howard, and that's all we had to give up for him.
A consistent north to south back, yeah, that was a steal. We didn't have to give up anything for him. And the fact that because I think the only thing we really had in mind after doing pretty much nothing in this free agency frenzy as soon as it opened up a couple weeks ago was the fact that, we only had Jay Ajayi was our only option for someone to sign, and he's coming off an ACL injury. You never know he's going to come back, and even before that, he was having a pretty inconsistent year. So now that we have a consistent back, the offense is sitting very much more comfortably.
He's a top running back in the game. He's up there with Gurley and Elliott. So having a competitive backfield in this in the conference now will definitely put them back in the conversation to make another Super Bowl run.
And that's got to be the icing on the cake for this offense, right? I mean, we had been waiting for some kind of running back like Jordan Howard. We knew that we were set at wide receiver with Alshon and Deshaun Jackson, and we're at least definitely set at tight end with Ertz and Goddard. But now we actually have a guy that we can hand the ball off to. And so, this should – do you guys think that getting a running back like Jordan Howard, this should enhance Carson Wentz's comeback, right?
That was the point I was just going to make, actually, is the fact that you have somebody to help assist an injury-prone quarterback and somebody that – would you rather have two busted knees in the back center with a running back and a quarterback, or would you have someone that's consistent that will take a little bit of the pressure off of Wentz so he doesn't have to be throwing 40 passes a game? So it should be something to control offensive flow, and we'll go with the arsenal that we already had at running back if all of them or some of them return.
Yeah, and that was my biggest concern coming into the offseason. So I'm excited to see what other moves Howie can make, but hopefully it's one of the bigger moves that he makes too. So
yeah, definitely.
But that has to mean that Jay Ajayi's done, right? Yeah. What do you think, Sam?
Unfortunately, I really liked having Jay Ajayi around, but having a younger and healthier back to, like Tyler said, relieve Carson Wentz of having to throw the ball down the field. If he's getting banged up, having to take those extra blows for him, I think he can handle it more, and I think he's going to just be more effective going forward.
Yeah, and I think it definitely helps that with this arsenal that we have on offense now, Jordan Howard had even said himself that the defenses they can't crowd the box anymore because someone's going to be open down the field. But that's going to wrap it up for our headlines section of the show. We're going to get into Phillies talk, and Phillies are off to a hot start. They're 4-1. They sweep the Braves, which is definitely, I mean, you'll take that any day of the week. I was happy with a 2 out of 3 against them, but we swept the Braves, arguably our biggest rival right now, even though the Mets are pretty good and the Nationals are decent. But I guess general thoughts heading into this season, we were a little shaky, but now we're 4-1, and I think it's this team is really starting to prove what I was saying earlier, where the offense is able to make up for the pitching for the most part. Obviously, yesterday was a little bit of an exception, but I mean, this is just a completely different team, and you guys got to love it.
Yeah, I'm really optimistic for this season. I think this is going to be our only loss. That was a joke. But I'm really optimistic to see what happens. And I think teams are going to come in and be scared because we have such a stellar offense. But the defense is really going to definitely be the biggest struggle this season, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. If our pitching hits stride or we pick up another big-name free agent that still hasn't been signed, like a Keuchel or something, I think that would be huge because this offense is electric. It's one of the best in baseball right now. And the only concern I would have is the city of Philadelphia and just the fan bases have been buzzing so far. And obviously it's going to happen when you have such a great offseason along with just opening day in general for a good sporting city. But the fact that the matter is, I think it matters most what's going to happen in the dog days of August. If they're still going to have that buzz around them, if Harper's still going to be bowing and pumping his fist like he has been in these first couple of games, I think it's very key for a young team like this, a young offensive team that how they're going to respond to a series when they lose 6 of 7 or those cold stretches that come in the future.
Sorry. I think that Bryce Harper's probably going to name his son the Fanatic. So, I mean, I don't think that that's going to be a problem.
Oh, all right, we'll see then.
Sam, what do you think?
So, yeah, basically what they've been saying is the offense has been the key generator of the wins for this team, and they do need to lock down on defense, even though Maikel Franco has been playing very well in that 8-hole spot.
Yeah.
He is still prone to make errors, which he's historically been known for. We saw the catch that Odubel Herrera had to make while calling off Bryce Harper. You got to have a little bit better communication in the outfield, but locking down defense and keeping the offense going is what I would like to see.
And those little things that you just brought up, the communication, the talking, those are all little mishaps that we can get over right now. I'll talk about what happened yesterday because obviously that was just a really bad way to end your first 5 games of the season. But this lineup has really been coming alive. I mean, even though Nola did have his struggles yesterday, every good pitcher is going to have a bad game. But the 6, 7, 8 is just really surprising me, at least. It's got to be surprising you guys. We knew how solid our 1 to 5 lineup would be with with McCutchen, Segura, and all the other guys. But then, the guys who have been in this organization for multiple years now are finally starting to step up. Do you guys think that has something to do with how talented our 1 to 5 is?
I mean, yeah, it definitely does. Because think about how carefully you have to pitch at the beginning. You almost think it as a sigh of relief, and then you see Franco tied with Harper for the most home runs on the team so far and has the most RBIs with 8. So if you look at it, the fact that you need to be so particular for those first 5 batters, it's almost a pain for any other team to take a sigh of relief when you get to the bottom of the order because it has been just as, if not more, deadly because of the struggles by McCutchen and Hoskins so far early.
And I really just think that with the offseason they had and the talent they brought in, the positive energy that radiates in the clubhouse is really having an effect on some players who have shown questionable signs. Like Odubel's been up and down his whole career, same for Cesar Hernandez and Maikel Franco. But, having these, for lack of a better word, good vibes in the clubhouse is really picking up these bottom hitters. And
at least for me, it was really satisfying just to think about the fact that we had the same lineup, like the same 1 through 8 in multiple games in a row. Like it was almost unheard of. if that had happened last year, I think a lot of us would have been really happy. But like, it should be the new norm this year, and that's definitely something that Gabe is going to start implementing because of how good this lineup is. This lineup, we're walking, we're hitting, we're not really striking out as much as we were last year. This has got to keep up for a while, I would say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I was just going to point that out. Besides McCutchen, who has 8 strikeouts on the season, everyone is below 5. Like, that's huge. They are walking more than they're striking out, so that's just huge for at-bats. That's just huge for these offensive numbers, because if you aren't going to have a good at-bat or you're in a tough situation and you're not in a hitter's count, preferably, then you have somebody right behind you that could drive you in with ease. So the fact that this lineup is so powerful and yet they're not trying to do it all themselves, because the numbers are sporadic for every player on the team, and those 1 through 8 that have just been lighting up the ball. It's been great.
And this lineup is really built on picking each other up. Players get on base, and they can almost rely on being knocked home right away. When we saw that in the opening game when Rhys Hoskins blasted that grand slam. It even happened yesterday when, even though the Phillies lost the game, McCutchen had that 3-run double that put them on top, or it tied the game. I don't remember which, but either way, these players can rely on their teammates to generate offense. There's no lack of confidence in their teammates, and that's really important.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say, like how they're going to just feel more comfortable in their positioning, so then they don't feel like they have a ton of pressure, and that makes them hit better, obviously.
Plus, going off of that, how great they've been with runners in scoring position or just runners on. The fact that they really haven't left anyone on base at the end of an inning is huge.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because we had really struggled so much with that last year, but now it seems to be an easy thing to get these guys in. And, you guys brought up the whole thing about the lineup and how I really think this lineup is smart, because there was that one play yesterday where McCutchen, I forget who, I guess it was Segura who hit that blooper.
Yeah.
And why McCutchen was running, I don't know, but he read that perfectly, and it dropped. A normal throw home would have gotten him out, but he read that perfectly and put pressure on him. So
and that's what he brings to the table. That was a part of his MVP season, the fact that he's a pesky player, he's a great base runner, and that's why he's in the leadoff spot.
So obviously we've been talking about the positives of the Phillies, but there's always a consistent negative with this team, and I'll talk about it when we get to the rants. But this bullpen, the 2018, 2017, every other year before that, where we were just horrible, it's almost as if it's starting to stick with us. I mean, I don't want to get too much into it because that is my rant, but what are your guys' just thoughts on the bullpen? Like, why is it still like this?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be that one thing, like you said, but it's just one of those things that, like, we had such a great offseason, but this is what we need to do and to look for this season right now. But, like, it's going to have to be something that they're really going to have to work on, because that is the biggest fault in this team, and that's what that could possibly make them not a championship team.
Right. Yeah, bullpen will be huge. I have to personally apologize, as I told you.
Oh, yes.
The fact that I thought Robertson would have the best start coming on these new guys, and just for the fact that, like, for example, Harper had a short spring, and the fact that it's just tough to get into the flow of things when it gets colder up here, even though it's still been nice out. He has an over 18 ERA. I mean, he's been terrible in his 2 performances, and he's 0-1, even though they pretty much was a blown save. So I think that the bullpen will be the only thing that has to be consistent this year.
Real quick, Sam.
And I'd like to not rush to judgment on the bullpen, but because it is early in the year, but this is something that really needs to be fixed down the line, and we cannot let this slide. So we need to be brutal on the bullpen now so that they fix these issues, but going forward, they need to pick it up.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. They need to get it done sooner than later, but luckily we have a young season and a lot more games of baseball to play. But we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we got Sixers talk, so stay tuned. Tell me you didn't watch the Phillies game last night.
You know, unfortunately I did, and it was just so heartbreaking to see the first 8 batters strike out.
Claude Giroux hasn't done anything for this organization.
I'm confused. You're doing an internship in sort of marketing and production, right?
I really can't believe that Ben Simmons won't be dropping 3s on the court this year.
Hey, Tanya, I know you're really busy, but could you tell me who the Sixers play on October 28th? Doctor, in order for the Eagles to win this week, they're going to need 250 passing yards from Carson Wentz. We're going to need 100 yards rushing. I don't care who it is. We're going to need a lot of good production from our tight end and wide receivers. And I'm going to need 5 interceptions from Malcolm Jenkins. Yeah, Mom, look, I know the money situation isn't good right now, but I promise you Travis Konechny's going to have a breakout year.
Hey, I had to climb to the top of Mount Everest to find Nick Pavetta's ERA.
Sports Talk Philadelphia. We talk nothing but sports all the time.
Kylie loves to an egg.
An egg?
An egg.
How does a general lose to an egg?
The internet to an egg.
You know, there is a show for that. It's called Backstage Pass.
See the new library plans?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, doing stuff in the library. Oh.
In the library?
Yeah.
The new library.
You know, there is a show for that called LTV News, where the action never stops.
I wonder how the basketball team.
You know, there is a show for that called Sports Live.
So are you a Carson Wentz or Nick Foles guy?
More of a Nate Sudfeld team.
Oh, really? Interesting. Wonder where we can hear about Philly sports.
You know, there's a show for that called Sports Talk Philadelphia.
You like Family Feud?
Yeah.
You like all shows like that?
Yeah.
I wonder if LaSalle has a show like that. That'd be kind of cool.
There is a show for that called Q&A.
I really wish that we could just display our talents.
Yeah, me too.
There's a show for that called Sports Got Talent.
All this and more on LaSalle TV.
All right, welcome back to the show. Sam Brown steps off. Jack Rohr takes his place to talk some Sixers with us today. Since the last show, not much has really changed. The Sixers went 2-2 in the week span, and they are still in third place. They've lost 4 out of their last 6 games, and they are currently, now they're not struggling to hold on to it, but they only have a 2.5 game lead in that third seed spot. And that's really important come playoff time because obviously we were the third seed last year. And, obviously our opponent was the Celtics the next round, but the Celtics are below us, so we have to try and take advantage there. But the Sixers have not been playing well recently. Part of that is due to Joel Embiid. He's healthy, but I think the organization's obviously being careful with him for obvious reasons. So what are you guys thinking right now as we get into this last week of regular season?
I mean, I think that I'm okay with them letting Joel rest and stuff, and I don't know. I guess people are just kind of on the fence about it. And I think it's okay that he's resting for that fact. But I also think that last year going into the playoffs, them winning all those games was such a confidence booster. And that is not what they're getting right now. So I'm a little worried about that. And I don't want them to have too much confidence because I think that they think that they're going to soar right through the first round. Mm-hmm. And then the second round's obviously going to be scary. But they might not, you never know with the Sixers, so.
No, I think it's a good test because if you look at it, Embiid will most likely, knock on wood, be playing every game in this playoffs, but you can't expect them to drop 30 every single night. Right. You're going to have to see who else can step up if it's going to be Harris or Butler or Simmons or Redick just having a good shooting night. You need to see who else you'll have and who you can run the offense through and just who you're going to close games with. So I think it's very good that they're just letting Embiid get his rest.
Yeah, I mean, the Sixers are basically locked into the 3. So it really doesn't, they can hold out whoever they want. They've got it. There's 3 or 4 games left and they're 2.5 games up. Something would have to go catastrophically wrong for them to lose that spot. So it makes sense to keep them out. The only team on the bottom half of the East that I care about is the Nets, and the Nets have been sucking worse and worse every day. So honestly, the first round doesn't scare me. Sit and beat through the first round. They got it.
Oh.
I don't know about the first round.
Let's not go that far.
That's a little bold, but
oh my God.
But no, I'm glad you're bringing this up now. We only have 4 games left, including the Milwaukee game tonight. But we do have 2 games against the Bulls, and we're 1 game away from winning 50 games for the second season in a row. It would be an incredible accomplishment for Brett Brown, but he has to do something. I understand the idea of wanting to rest Embiid. We need him healthy, but I think he is healthy, and we need him to play against Milwaukee. We need him to at least get in some kind of game form, game shape for the playoffs to start. So I guess looking at this playoff picture, assuming we can have him healthy, who do you want to play? It looks like it's going to be – we really don't know who we're going to play until the last day of the regular season.
Of the 3, because they all have the same record, I would have to go Magic. Because if you look at it, the Pistons, I said them last week, but the more I looked at it, they do have a good core. I know Drummond struggles against the Sixers, and Blake Griffin's going to get his 25 regardless, and he's become a shooter. But there are 7 guys on that team that are shooting above 40% from the field and above 32% from 3. So they just all around can all shoot, and they all can drop buckets. But I think if you look at the Magic, there's really no one besides Aaron Gordon, really. Vucevic as well, yeah. He's dropping about 20 a game. So I think that they would be the best for our personnel.
Yeah, the answer for an easy win is the Magic, but you want to look at entertainment as well. I want that Drummond series where Embiid just demolishes him. His first game's in a while, and he just takes he's got like real estate in Drummond's brain. The game, it's over. Puts up 50 in the first game. It's over. Like, they win that series easily, and it's entertaining. The Magic, it's like you're just beating up Nikola Vucevic. What has he ever done? What did he
ever
guy?
do?
Yeah.
Point.
They're starting DJ Augustine at point guard. It's just like that's murder. That's not fair.
Do you have
start TJ
preference?
McConnell against them. Have a good matchup.
I would be okay with playing the Magic the first round. I want an easy game the first round. The second round, okay, fine, entertainment, sure, go for it. First round, I just want it to be easy. Let's just get it over with.
Well, that's the thing. So like we obviously don't know who we're going to play in the first round yet. But we might not know who we're going to play in the second round, assuming we get there. Let's just assume that we can get out of the first round, right? Mm-hmm. We can either play Toronto or Milwaukee, but Milwaukee has, I think, a 1.5, 2-game lead in first place. If they collapse and Toronto moves up, I personally would feel better playing the Bucks in the second round. What do you guys think?
I don't know about that one, actually.
It's either the Bucks or the Raptors.
Exactly. It's a pick your poison, of course, but I think the Raptors are a better team. I still have them going out of the East, in my opinion. Obviously, I'd love to see the Sixers, but I still think that they would be coming out of the East.
And that's why I would want to play Milwaukee in the second round. If we meet, we would meet either. We would meet the second seed, right?
Yeah.
So if Milwaukee gets the second seed, I would feel better playing them. And if we get to the conference finals,
sorry, I heard you wrong.
No, it's fine. The seeding's confusing,
exactly.
But I understand that. What do you guys think?
I'm higher on the Bucks than I am the Raptors. Giannis is too good.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
It really is.
And I'd rather not get him early. I'd rather take the Raptors in round 2 because I'd rather not get him off of an easy first round matchup against whoever they play against. The Bucks are going to win their first round series. I'd rather not get Giannis, who isn't that tired, isn't that beaten up. I'd rather take him on in the conference finals when he's taken on a Celtics or a Pacers team that'll beat him up.
Right?
That'll kind of tire him out. Mm-hmm. I'd rather take on Giannis then than before then. And the Raptors, they are scary. I'm not trying to discount the Raptors at all. Kawhi, Pascal Siakam, Kyle Lowry. But I think they're easier to take on, especially because Kyle Lowry probably still has some playoff demons in his brain.
Maybe. Plus, if you look back at the Bucks, I forgot to mention this earlier, Chris Middleton's out, I believe. It's either Chris Middleton or Eric Bledsoe.
Well, I know Giannis has had ankle issues, but I didn't know
it's
one of them was out. Okay.
Brogdon. And he's a top 3 scorer on that team, so that's a nice weight off the chest for someone you have to guard, and so you can focus more on doubling Giannis.
All right, and then the last point I wanted to make before we move on to the rants is that the Sixers signed Greg Monroe, who was the 7th overall pick in 2010. Jack, you're not too happy about this. I mean, what? That's right, because Jack's a Suns fan.
He was on the Suns for like an hour last season, didn't do anything, and just ate up minutes for like Alex. I'm still high on Alex Len. He's on the Hawks now. He's doing his best. He gets rebounds. He'd get a double-double. I'd be happy. I'd be like, go, yeah. But Greg Monroe does nothing. He just takes away minutes.
Well, he was a solid 15 and 10 guy when he was in Detroit. And when we signed him, I thought it was a great signing simply for the fact that our bench is pretty thin, even with all the moves that we made in this season. Boban's not going to be able to go out there for so long, and Embiid obviously is going to be on restrictions at some point. So having a veteran center like him, who was a walking bucket in Detroit, was
a good point.
I feel like it's a good move. Let's move on to the rants now, and I'm going to start off. I mentioned this earlier during the Phillies talk. I'm really not trying to let this get to my head too much because we are 4-1. It is going to be a really exciting season with how good our lineup is, but our bullpen stinks. Dave Robertson, as you see on the graphic there, he walked 4 straight guys in the bottom of the 9th. Now, what happened in the inning before? It really should have been a tie-up instead of a walk. But Sir Anthony Dominguez, I mean, it's ridiculous how the 2018, basically from 2013, 2014 to 2018 Phillies bullpen is now back with us so far. It's got to change in order for me to be completely happy. Gia, let's go to you. You're on the Phillies, but you're also on the Nationals fans.
Yeah, you're right. I am mad that the Nationals fans booed Bryce Harper because it's just lame. Like, come on, man. It's really just, like, I know we wouldn't do that to Nick Foles. We didn't do it to Chase Utley. We didn't do it to Sarge.
Jimmy Rollins.
Yeah, Jimmy Rollins. Like, we didn't do it to any of these people. I know, like, Chase Utley is different, and so is Nick Foles because they actually won something with us. But they act like Bryce Harper didn't do anything for their organization, and that's annoying. So.
Plus, it's on them how they followed up to try and sign him again.
Yeah, you're right.
Lowballed.
Exactly.
Right, yeah. All right, Tyler, your home team, the Yankees. You say
I could take it from here. I could take it from
you
here.
say they stink, but they're injured. So
Yeah,
Like,
injuries obviously happen, but if we really look at it, we have such a deep team, and they are 2-4, 1-2 against the Orioles, and 1-2 against the Tigers. The Orioles were supposed to win 57 games this year, according to Las Vegas. You know how hard you have to try to lose 102 games in Major League Baseball? That's just ridiculous. The fact that they have 18 strikeouts against the Tigers' 5th best pitcher yesterday. He was barely out of AAA if he didn't get on the Tigers. I mean, are you kidding me? Now that everyone's hurt and Duhar dove back and did something to his shoulder, Stanton's out because he swung and missed. I can't believe the Yankees right now.
all right, well they're gonna get healthy one day. So just, I mean, I understand why you're upset now. Just relax. Jack, the AAF, man.
It folds. What's wrong? It almost folded after 1 week. How could you not, like, how do you make this a thing without having enough money to make it through one season? Like, that's like the four of us being like, hey, let's start a football league, and it getting some traction, we get some players. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's so dumb.
Everyone thought they were gonna like compete with the. Everyone thought that the AFF was gonna like compete with the NFL.
Saturate football. 52 days, $70 million down the drain.
That's so
huge.
dumb. Like, how do you not make sure you have the money to continue?
Well, that's what you're ranting about. But how do you feel? Like, are you upset that the AFF is?
I don't care that much about the AF. I didn't watch it, but just hearing about it.
You care. You made it your rant.
Well,
I mean,
just,
but it's
I
a
just
pretty.
think it's a dumb thing. Like, you don't have enough money to make it through one season.
Johnny Football didn't even
tough.
get a snap.
Exactly.
It's really tough. But
right.
I mean, I'm glad your rants go last, Jack. Honestly. But that's gonna wrap it up for today's show. You can catch us on social media at SportsTalk LTV on Twitter. Catch us on YouTube, and also go on to Facebook. Check us out at LaSalle TV. We're going to wrap it up. You guys have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.